welcome to Labor Lens, where we bring to you update information in the world of work and pay. I am Sharon Ijason. This week we will be discussing the national minimum wage, its urgent need for it to be reviewed according to workers, and many more. But before we dig deeper, let's take the news. We will be right back.
Protests of pro and anti-support groups took place on the reinstatement of the executive secretary of the NHIS, Usman Yusuf, at the NHIS headquarters in Jabi. The protesters of both groups were seen chanting slogans as they express their grievances. Speaking on behalf of the anti-Yusuf protesters, the chairman of the Association of Senior Civil Servants, NHIS chapter, Comrade Omomiji Abdul Razak, says the reinstatement of Yusuf is giving rise to a witch hunt on those who had given evidences against him during his suspension. Abdul Razak also added that the other group of Yusuf supporters are staff who were brought in illegally by the NHIS boss.
One of the impunity of Professor Usman Yusuf is the sign of those people who saw carrying placard. Some of them were recruited. Are you getting me? Yes. Placed above their qualification. Okay, and we have gotten approval of the supervisory ministry to bring them down to the appropriate level they deserve.
We call on all well-meaning Nigerians to support this focused and result-oriented leadership in NHIS that is under Professor Usman Yusuf. Number two, our request is we urge NHIS staff to continue to discharge their normal duties without fear of intimidation and harassment by a faction of union.
Nigeria Union of Local Government Employees has rejected and condemned the recommendation in the APC Restructuring Committee report seeking the scrap of local government as a third tier of government and its delisting from the constitution of the country. Addressing journalists in the nation's capital, the union described the report as a predetermined position of a cabal in the party and not the position of the people. They called on the party leadership to discard the report and not dissipate unnecessary energy considering it.
The governors and the committee cannot run away from the pact. As we said, we participated in all the venues that where this committee had the consultative with other stakeholders in Nigeria. And we know what transpired. The majority of the presentation made during the consultations were in support of local government, real local government, a functional local government, democratic local government that will be for the people, of the people, and by the people. And for the committee to come with a different report that does not in any way reflect what people presented during the consultation, we believe that is a self-determined position, particularly by the chairman of the committee and few others that have influence, heavy influence on the committee.
The inauguration of a 30-member tripartite National Minimum Wage Committee for the negotiation of a new national minimum wage for Nigerian workers has elicited a lot of expectations and hope among Nigerian workers. On November 27, 2017, President Muhammadu Buhari inaugurated the committee in Abuja, which governors and senior government officials, among other stakeholders, witnessed. Although the committee is yet to begin sitting after inauguration, workers are keeping hope alive in 2018 that the committee will come out with useful decisions after its assignment. Tokpe Aluko, a teacher who receives 18,000 naira as monthly wages, wants the federal government to conclude negotiation on the implementation of a new minimum wage so that her salary will be able to enable her cater for her kids.
It's not easy for me. For the past 3 years now, I've been managing their school fees. I have to pay their school fees, but though my husband is supporting in that aspect, their food, they have to eat, maybe in a month, I have to look for what it is. Like, I spend close to 8,000 in a month.
Recently, a report was released by the ruling All Progressive Congress Committee on Restructuring, recommending that labor issues be moved from the exclusive list to the concurrent list. This has generated a lot of reactions as labor leaders are of the view that salaries and entitlements of workers should be negotiated by the federal government and not individual states. According to them, this is what makes it a national minimum wage.
So you now see some states, even they would descend below that 18,000 naira when you are saying that you want to improve it. That's the wider implication. And where they are going is that each state should now have its own labor unions. That's the extent to which it's going. You understand? We have some real progressive people that are just masquerading as leaders. And as far as we are concerned, we have said it times and times again that most of them don't have business in the government house. We you make progress as a country. You don't retrogress.
Why people are talking about recession? The privileged ones in government are collecting their pay, while the underprivileged are not being paid. Everything that will make us to survive and look like human beings are considered not important. So if you push the workers to the wall, of course, you will see action, which will include industrial action and some other actions.
In an exclusive interview, the Director General of Nigeria's Employers Consultative Association, NECA, was of the view that Nigeria is a party to many international organizations. He also tells me Nigerian workers will benefit more if the labor laws are not removed from the exclusive list and sent to the residual list.
Now the question is if you have moved labor issues to the residual list, right? And the federal government at the international level has signed on to certain conventions. The state will have no choice but to implement those conventions. But we must understand clearly what was driving this call for delisting. It's simply the national minimum wage. But the United States of America runs a far more better federal system than us. And it still has national minimum wage, with the federal government legislate on from time to time. If the United States of America, whose system we have copied, has been able to run it effectively for ages, then what is our issue?
Labour had earlier submitted a proposal of 56,000 naira and 90,000 naira to the federal government as new minimum wage. In 2008, NLC demanded for 52,000 naira. The National Minimum Wage Act was signed in April 2011 and has a 5-year reopener clause for new negotiation, which has been due for review for more than 2 years.
We should aim to go above the basic social protection flow for all Nigerian workers based on the ability of each tier of government to pay.
In all of this, the president did not give a time ceiling to the committee members during their inauguration, but workers, especially the low-skilled ones, hope that the outcome of the deliberation would be consensual and generally acceptable.
The present day reality, no, it is really not at all. You can't even, how are you going to do it? Even within a month, you would have expended that on just only on transportation. Even it depends on where you work. If somebody is, take Lagos for example, probably you are living in maybe Ikorodu, and you work in somewhere in Ireland. Under 2 weeks, you will have expended the 18,000 minimum. You are not talking about school fees for your kids. You're not even talking about feeding. You're not talking about other social amenities that you have to pay. In fact, if it was when the naira was a little bit valuable, I mean valuable where you has about 190, 150 to $1, it could make sense. We are talking about something about 360 naira to $1. No. Even if it is increased to 50,000, it can't even take anybody home.
Depending on where you're from, and that's why when people talk about restructuring, these are areas that we need to restructure in terms of the minimum wage. I don't see why Lagos State minimum wage should be like that of Kebbi State. Are you with me? So, depending on where you are from, the house rent in Lagos cannot. If you pay somebody in Lagos State 120,000 and you pay somebody in Kebbi State 120,000, comparatively, even the person in Kebbi is even earning much more than someone in Lagos. So, first and foremost, 18,000 is not enough. Considering current realities, 18,000 is not enough. However, when we want to restructure the issue of minimum wage, let each state pay according to its own capacity and according to prevailing market conditions.